Good morning and welcome back to my channel. We are starting lecture number 63, Bio section, in this NEET 2026 lecture series. Today's topic is the living world. This is new chapter and in one single video we will finish this chapter. So far I have uploaded 62 videos. All these videos are compiled in this playlist, NEET 2026 notes and lecture video. If you want individual chapters, I have also created these playlists. Okay. So see, there are 5 units in class 11th and class 12th textbook. We have completed 2 units. Now the reason I did these chapters first is अगर आपको बुर्ज खलीफा खड़ा करना है तो आपकी फाउंडेशन बहुत स्ट्रांग होनी चाहिए. सो ये जो फंडामेंटल टॉपिक्स थे, ओके, दीज आर बेसिक्स. ये हर लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म में अप्लाई होंगे. जैसे हमने एवोल्यूशन शुरू किया, केमिकल एवोल्यूशन, बायोकेमिस्ट्री, एंड देन वी डिड मॉलिक्यूलर बायोलॉजी, फ्रॉम देयर सेल बायोलॉजी, सेल डिविजन, देन जेनेटिक्स. Bioenergetics was one topic I wanted to do, but since the chapter says photosynthesis in higher plants, respiration in higher plants, so this is the reason I thought I will now do it in sequence and starting from chapter 1. Okay, so once we are done with morphology and anatomy of flowering plants, then we will do photosynthesis and respiration. So this is the NTA syllabus. I have divided this chapter in 3 different sections. First, we will talk about this scientist, contribution and achievement of Ernst Mayr, then about the living system and biodiversity, and then finally the need for classification and taxonomy and about binomial nomenclature. I want to remind you that in NEET 2025, there was not a single question from this chapter. This point is very important. Ernst Mayr, he lived for 100 years. This is the lifespan of human beings. Okay, and he utilized all 100 years allotted to him. So this in itself is a great motivation to all students. Please learn medical sciences in such a way that it benefits you. Okay, you use it for maintaining your own health and pulling yourself for 100 years. So Ernst Mayr career was really long. It was 80-year long career. His research spanned different topics. One by one we will see those topics. Number 1, ornithology. This is scientific study of birds. Then taxonomy. This is science of naming, defining, classifying groups of organism. This is what we will study in this chapter. Then he studied zoo geography. This is scientific study of geographical distribution of animal species. So as the name suggests, animal and their geographical distribution. And it not only includes the present one, but it also includes the distribution of past animal species. Evolution, the process by which living beings change over successive generation due to genetic variations and natural selection. Then systematics, this is the field of biology concerned with classifying organisms and determining their evolutionary relationship. So in systematics, this part is very important, okay? Evolutionary relationships are considered along with the classification. And then he also studied history and philosophy of biology. So please note everything and read it regularly so that you are familiar with all these terms. See, the greatest advantage in NEET exam is options are in front of you. So if you regularly read a topic and are familiar with the terms associated with the topic, for example, the achievement and contribution of a scientist, then it will be very easy to identify the answer. Now see, in this case, this is an important point. He was honored with this title, Darwin of 20th century. Then he was also given this title, Alexander Agassiz, Professor of Zoology Emeritus. He single-handedly made origin of species diversity the central question of evolutionary biology. So see, species is the smallest rank we will see in the taxonomical hierarchy. So this topic is important. He also pioneered the currently accepted definition of biological species. Species are group of organisms that can interbreed and also produce fertile offsprings. Okay, this is the standard definition of species. And then these are the awards. So please note it down and read it regularly to familiarize yourself. And then only you will be easily able to crack any question which is asked on this scientist. Now next, we will understand about living beings. So these are the four characteristic features of living beings. They show growth either in mass or in number. Then they show reproduction, they show metabolism, and they respond to stimuli. So the question is, out of these four, which one is the defining feature? It is only seen in living beings. So first things first, we will rule out growth because even stone shows growth, increase in mass or increase in number. Okay, so this is not the defining property. Then regarding reproduction, there are certain living beings that do not reproduce. Examples are sterile honeybees. So worker honeybees are sterile, they cannot reproduce. Then mule is something which is born out of mating of donkey and horse. And then there are infertile human beings also. Okay, so again we cannot take reproduction as the defining feature because even though they cannot reproduce, but they are very much alive. Okay, so this is not the defining feature. Next one, metabolism. Is it the defining feature? This again is not a defining feature. The reason is you can show metabolic reaction in cell-free system, and that is the basis of physicochemical reactions. So the final one, the only feature which is defining feature of living beings is their ability to respond to stimuli. So they sense the environment and then respond accordingly. So this is the defining feature. Now, based on this topic, there is this question. A living organism is unexceptionally differentiated from non-living structure on the basis of, the answer will be responsiveness, their ability to respond. Now, next topic about biodiversity. So biodiversity is in turn dependent on habitat. So when we will study ecology, habitat loss and fragmentation is the number one cause of biodiversity loss. Okay, so see, there are extraordinary habitats in which we find living organism like cold mountains, deciduous forest, oceans, freshwater lakes, desert or hot springs. So microorganisms and living beings are seen in variety of habitats. So this shows the level of biodiversity on planet Earth. Each different kind of plant, animal, organism that you see represents a species. The number of species that are known and described range from 1.7 to 1.8 million. So these are known and they are described. Okay, so please note it down. This is important number. So now because we have this huge biodiversity, there is a need for classification. New organisms are continuously being identified. So see, local names are given to anything which is around you, but this will vary from place to place. I will give you this example. So see, these are the local names. In Kashmir, it is called Taumul. Tamil mein, it is Ariki. Then Gujarati, Chokha. Assamese mein, Saul. Malayalam mein, Ari. Hindi mein, it is called Chawal. And pakne ke baad, it is called Bhat. ओके, सो लोकल नेम से आपको हमेशा कंफ्यूजन रहेगा. सो वी नीड अ नेम विच इज यूनिवर्सल, and so that if you say call it Oriza sativa, anybody can identify it that it is we are talking about rice. So need to standardize the naming of living organisms such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. So इसको हम कहते हैं universality, universal name, and it will only be given by following standard procedure. So this process is called nomenclature. Nomenclature or naming is only possible when the organism is described correctly and we know to what organism the name is attached to. This is identification. Now, since this statement says nomenclature is only possible when the organism is described correctly, okay, so it indicates that identification precedes nomenclature. So, as I mentioned before, the universal name which is assigned to a particular organism, it is called the scientific name. For plants, scientific names are based on agreed principle and criteria, which are provided in International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, ICBN. And similar code we have for animals, okay, and that will be called International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. The scientific name ensures that each organism has only one name, universal, one single name. Description of any organism should enable the people to arrive at the same name. So see, this point is important. Description. So when you describe something, okay, then only you can identify it. So description is called characterization. We will see this term later in the slides. Biologists follow universally accepted principle. Please make a note of this. Universally accepted principles to provide scientific names to known organism. Each name has two components, generic name and specific epithet. The system of providing a name with two components is called binomial nomenclature. So the statement is self-explanatory. Because we have two components in the name, generic name and the specific epithet, this is the reason the process of naming an organism is called binomial nomenclature. Binomial means two components in the name, and nomenclature is the process of allotting a name. This naming system given by Carolus Linnaeus is being practiced by biologists all over the world. So scientific name of mango is Mangifera indica. So what are the rules of binomial nomenclature? Number one, biological names are generally in Latin and written in italics. The first word in biological name represents genus, while the second component denotes the specific epithet, the species. Both the words in biological name, when handwritten, are separately underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. The first word denoting the genus starts with capital letter. So this is the reason the scientific name of mango is Mangifera. So we write it in capital M, Mangifera, and the species name starts in small letter, Mangifera indica. Mangifera indica. And here you can see Linn. Linn indicates this species was first described by Linnaeus. Classification is the process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable characters. So the keyword which is connecting this is grouping. Grouping into categories is classification. So now see, dogs and cats, these are two different groups. Taxonomical aid key. I will give you the example. It will be very easy for you to understand how you can use key to differentiate dogs and cats. First question you will ask is the organism a mammal? So only two answers which are possible is either it will be yes or no. If it is yes, then you proceed to 2. This one. If it is no, the organism is not a cat or dog. So this is how key works. Every question will have either yes or no. So if you get yes here, then you proceed to step number 2. So step number 2 is, does the mammal have prominent canine teeth and is it a carnivore? So again the answer is yes. If it is yes, proceed to step number 3. Does the organism belong to the family Felidae? Felidae is cat family. So if it is yes, it is cat. If it is no, proceed to step 4. Does the organism belong to the family Canidae? And the answer is dog. Yes. So by articulating a proper question, you can arrive at the proper answer, and this will help you to classify the organisms. So this is one example of taxonomical aid, which is called key. So based on characters, all living organisms can be classified into different taxa. This process of classification is taxonomy. External, internal features along with structure of cell, development process and ecological information of organism are essential. This is the basis of taxonomic studies. So characterization, identification, classification, nomenclature are the process that are basic to taxonomy. So see, whatever description is given in NCERT regarding characterization, identification, classification and nomenclature, honestly speaking, it didn't give me clarity. Okay, so I have got additional information outside NCERT and I hope it will help you to understand each and every term and understand how they come in sequence. So see, this is the sequence. Okay, first you characterize the organism, then you identify it, then classify it, and then naming is done, which is nomenclature. So characterization involves describing the characteristics of an organism. Okay, the process of determining and describing an organism's unique features, including structural, morphological, developmental, and ecological characteristics. This is called characterization. You're basically describing it. So once you have described it, then only you can compare it, right? So comparing the described characters of an unknown organism to those of known organism to determine if it is similar to a known group or taxon. So if it doesn't matches with any of the known group, it indicates that you have a novel organism in your hand. Okay, so this comparison of the described characteristics is called identification. Identification will help you know whether it is a novel organism or not. So see, based on this, there is this question. After an organism has been characterized, that means every feature is described. The next step is, so now if you have understood the difference between characterization and identification, you will be able to guess the answer. It will be compare its characteristics with known species. This is called identification. Okay, and this is the answer. So first step is always characterization, in which you describe the properties, the unique features, and then the next step is you compare the characteristics with known species. And then third step is classification, systematically grouping organisms into categories or taxa based on their shared characteristics, similarities and differences. And then finally, assigning a systematic and universally accepted name to the organism according to established rules. So universally accepted name. Assigning systematic and universally accepted name is nomenclature. Okay, now try to attempt this question. Which is the correct sequence of the basic process of taxonomy? So first step will be characterization. So eliminate these two. Characterization. Then next step is identification, comparing it with a known species. Then you classify it and finally give a universal name. So now this term systematics. So systematic arrangement of organism. Okay. Systematics takes into account evolutionary relationship. Very important point. Classification is not a single step process but involves hierarchy of steps in which each step represents a rank or category. So each rank and category is called taxon. So the first taxon which we study is species. Species are group of living organisms with fundamental similarities that can interbreed and produce fertile ones. So highlight is fundamental similarities, and these are group of individual organisms. So within Panthera genus, we have Panthera leo, Panthera pardus, and Panthera tigris. They all come under one genus. So genus comprise a group of related species which has more characters in common in comparison to species of other genera. So if you notice here, Panthera and Felis, these are two different genus. So in case of Felis, you will have different species. These are different names. Okay. So genus is different and the species under that genus will also be different. So species of Panthera and species of Felis are different morphologically also. The next higher level is family. They have group of related genera with still less number of similarities as compared to genus and species. So now if you see the hierarchy from species to genus and from genus to family. In family, we are now talking about Felidae and Canidae. So Felidae family will include genus Panthera and Felis. Canidae, this is dog family. Then next higher level taxon is order. Order being a higher category is assemblage of family. So many families, they come under one order which exhibit a few similar characters. Similar characters are less in number as compared to different genera included in a family. Okay. So right now we are just focusing on the animal part. So in animal order Carnivora, Carnivora will include Felidae and Canidae. Okay. And this is another order, Primata, which includes monkeys, gorillas, and gibbons. Then class is higher than order. So order Primata, comprising monkey, gorilla, and gibbon, is placed in class Mammalia, along with other order Carnivora. That includes animals like tiger, cat, and dog. So see, Mammalia include Carnivora as well as Primata. And this is one class, this is another class, reptiles, reptilia, then aves and amphibia. And then fishes, amphibians, reptile, birds, along with mammals, they come constitute the next higher category called phylum. So they all come under chordata. Okay. So here you see chordata will include mammalia, reptiles, aves, and amphibia. All these classes are in this phylum. And we have another phylum which includes all non-chordates. Now keep in mind phylum is when we are describing animals and division term is used when we are describing or classifying plants. And finally, at the top level is kingdom. Kingdom will include phyla or division. So see, please by heart this sequence. So animal includes chordata and non-chordata. Then in chordates we have this class, and then in Mammalia we have two different orders here mentioned here. We have many, but in this case we are discussing Carnivora and Primata. And then Carnivora includes these family Felidae and Canidae. And Felidae includes genus Panthera and Felis. Panthera include these species, Leo, Pardus and Tigris. Then there are other taxonomic categories with 4 different examples. In case of man, it is Chordata, Mammalia, Primata, Hominidae, Homo sapiens. Then in housefly, Arthropoda, Insecta, Diptera, Mucidae, Musca, Domestica. Mango. Now we will talk in terms of division, not phylum, because this is plant. So division, angiosperm, class, dicot, order Sapindales, family Anacardiaceae, genus Mangifera and species Indica. Here, this is wheat. Wheats are monocots. So division will be angiosperms, class is monocot, order is Poales, family Poaceae, genus Triticum, and then species name is Estiva. So with this, we have finished this chapter in one single video. Okay, tomorrow we will start another chapter, which is biological classification. Thanks a lot for watching this video and take good care of yourself.